Hey, Shalom, Israel. I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS and honors to you brothers doing the work in truth, war, sincerity. This one's, on the recent spiking of tensions recently that we've seen. Hey, these things are joyous to us, right? Her brother shared a meme where it's basically had a geezer smiling, and at the top it was like when the rest of the world is fearing World War III, right? But you're a Hebrew, right? Therefore, what do you call it? Therefore, you're Israelite, sorry. Therefore, you're smiling, man. Right? And that's what we're doing right now. We're smiling. We're like, yo, shit, yo, man. Hey, these things are coming to pass, right? The rest of the world are bugging, and nothing's really happening right now. It's all rumors of wars. We hope something's gonna happen, right? But this is an example of this scriptures, Isaiah 33:6 says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure." Right. So when things do actually start getting hot, when American planes do start getting shot out the sky, when British submarines, not so British warships, French warships start getting hit by Onyx missiles and all of that, right? Russian made Onyx missiles. Then these people are gonna be bugging out. I'm like, oh my god, war! We're gonna be excited. Like, oh shit, yeah, the time has come. The time has come, right? So we've been seeing these things, and hey, it's a beautiful time to be alive. What a time to be alive, man, right? You got that Nelly song. It's getting hot in there, man, and it's getting hot, right? The Cold War won't be cold anymore, man. The Cold War is gonna be fought with what do you call it, nuclear missiles, right? Because I mean, this was supposed to be a good one, but wherever the spirit leads, right? It says Isaiah 9:5. It says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Right? And that's talking about that ICBM nuclear, those ICBM nuclear missiles. They're gonna do heavy damage, right? To the extent that America is going to be wiped off the face of the earth. It's going to be completely destroyed and never inhabited ever again, right? So like I said, it is getting hot in there, and it's going to get even hotter, right? As hot as those thermonuclear missiles go, and also as hot as the beams from the chariots, man. We saw what Esau ignorantly calls UFOs, but they're identified in the scriptures. They're all throughout the scriptures. Right, Yahushua was taken up in a chariot pursuant to Acts, the first chapter. Right, it says Acts 1:9. Right, it says, and when he had spoke these things, while they beheld, he was taken up. Right, and the cloud received him out of their sight. And what's that cloud talking about? It's talking about the chariots of the Most High. Right, it says, and while they looked steadfastly towards heaven, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye man of Galilee, why stand ye up gazing up into heaven? This same Yahweh shall just taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So the Lord left in a chariot, the Lord's going to come back in a chariot, right? And every eye that sees him is going to do well, right? Because you're going to have the fighting that's going on, right? But then after, I might as well load it up as well. You read 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, right? The Lord then will proceed to, what do you call it, to have his way with them as well, right? It says, Revelation 1:7 says, Behold, he cometh with clouds, right? Once again, referring to those chariots. And, in some places where the scriptures mention clouds, talking about chariots, right? What led us out of Egypt? You had a chariot there, right? It says Revelation 1:7, but behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, right? And all kindreds of the earth shall well because of him, right? Even so, Ammon, right? You also have, was it 2nd Thessalonians 4:16? Was it 1st Thessalonians? Yeah, first Thessalonians. Got there in the end, right? It says, wants to be quick. It's 1st Thessalonians 4:16 says, For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, right? With the voice of the archangel and with the trump of the Most High, and the dead in Yahushua shall rise first, right? So meaning, like, if you die in this truth, hey, it is what it is. There is a glory for that. Right? If you done, in honor and glory, right unto the Lord, was what does the scripture say? No greater love hath a man that he laid down his life for his friend. Let me try again. I'm trying to remember that. No greater love. Right, it says John 15:13 says, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Right? If you go back here, where it basically says, and the dead in Yahweh shine. That's the key point. The dead that die in the in this thing. You read Revelation, some will be beheaded for this truth. But hey, the glory is that you will be raised with Yahweh shine first, man. You'll be raised first. Right, it says verse 17 back in 1 Thessalonians, says, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. Right, talking about those chariots to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Right, so let me just jump straight to the point here, because I'm kind of straight off topic. Yeah. Okay, so right. Now it says 2nd Ezra 13, we'll start from verse 7. It says, but I would have seen the regional place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet there's fight. Because these people are going to be afraid to fight, right? But they're going to fight, man, right? It says, and yet does fight. It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as being a blessed, that as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Right, so he was, shooting them beams out of the chariot, man. And what's this precept to Revelation 17:14? What does it say? Right, it's Revelation 17:14. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful, are called, chosen, and faithful. Right? There's a precept to that. Right? It says verse 10. But it's only I saw that I was read that. It says verse 11 says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one. So that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of soap. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right? So there's a man of the Lord seeing the destruction, right? And he was afraid. Right? You read a couple chapters later on, he says, woe is me, who's going to deliver me in those days? Right? So the time we're coming into, man, it's going to be a heavy time. It's going to be, a time of... it's a heavy time, a time never seen before, right, pursuant to Daniel the 12th chapter, and that will never be seen ever again on earth, pursuant to Joel the 2nd chapter, right? It says Daniel 12:1, it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time, right? A time of trouble since there was never a nation, right? Right, so it's going to be a time like never before. And at that time, our people shall be delivered. Right, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Right, so to go back into what we just read here in Isaiah 33:6, right, it says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation." Right, because we're seeing all these things happen, but we're like, yo, when this thing happens, at that time, thy people shall be delivered. Right. So like I said, hey, there's a lot of heat going on, man. It's getting hot in there. And Lord's Will, we can, Lord's Will, this is the year. You got the progress on the chip, right? I was saying in a video yesterday, not yesterday, but earlier on in the week, right? How you, basically people in the world that you may have told this truth, or people that have come past the camp, they may have, listened for a bit and then, dipped off, right? They're seeing these things come to pass, and they're like, "Oh shit! Hey, them Hebrews are Them Hebrew guys, they were, they've been speaking on these things, man. When we speak not of ourselves, we speak the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right, so Ezekiel 33:33 says that when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Right? So in that day, they're going to know that, we were the prophets, that we were the men. Right, I like to precept that bit, lo, it will come. Right, with this Habakkuk 2 and 3, so for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Right? It may look like these things are taking their time, this, that, and the other, but ultimately these things aren't, and they're gonna, when they come, right? Basically, hey, if the Lord said something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, right? You can't say, oh man, why didn't the Lord come back in 2000? Because that wasn't the appointed time for certain prophecies to come to pass, right? It's only really now. I don't know how it is over there in the States, but now in England, man, I can speak for London, right? The contactless infrastructure, i.e. the infrastructure for the chip, is there now. I remember like maybe a year or two ago, a year and a bit ago, walking home, right? I was actually walking to work, and I thought I saw it, and I was like, did I see that? And then on my way home, I was like, oh shit, I did actually see that, where the cash machine actually had a contactless reader on the outside, right? So you no longer have to put your card in; you can just tap your card on the machine outside. Right? And certain terminals where you pay by card, they all accept contactless payments now, right? So for instance, you got the machine where you buy your train ticket, right? This is a big big metal thing. Certain what's this thing called? Vending machines. I believe the one at my gym is contactless. So over here in England, London, we've got the infrastructure ready for the chip. Whereas at that point, back in 2000, those things weren't in the public consumption. Like was the technology there? It may have been there. I don't know. Right? It probably was there. But as of now, those certain prophecies had to come to pass. Right? Because everything happens at a due time. Right, because it's the Most High's schedule, ultimately, not man's schedule. Right, all we can do is watch and pray and hope that the Lord comes back, man. Right, this is Matthew 24 and 3. Right, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So the apostles, man, they were all about, look, we want to get out of here, man. Right? They were like, hey, man, you read later on. So are you at this time, gonna restore the kingdom unto Israel? Well, I believe that was Acts, the first chapter again, right? Acts 1 and 6. Let me just confirm that real quick, right? Yeah, Acts 1 and 6. When they therefore were come together, they asked of them, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Right, so they were all in that, Lord, when are you coming back, Spirit? Right? And it goes on to say this, verse 7, and he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his power, right? So all we can do is watch and pray. I've got that here, Mark 13:33. Take ye heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is, and we don't, right? But we see things like what's been happening of late, and we're like, oh shit, hey, the Lord's coming back soon, man, right? We can see these prophecies coming to pass, and we know that the time is short. Right, this is 2 Peter 3, verse 11. Verse 11? Is it verse 11? It is verse 11. Right, it says 2 Peter 3:11. It says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Right, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High. Right. So that word hasting is Spirido G4692. Says to speed, study, urge on diligently or earnestly, right? By implication, to await eagerly, right? We eagerly await the Lord's return because, hey, we're through. I just did a video about how, man, you had a whale, man, that died after eating 29 kilograms of plastic, man. A whale, right? Ocean-dwelling creatures, being fucked up by man, i.e. Esau, the so-called white man's activities, right? It says, we're in the Well, where was it? Where was it? Yeah, looking for and hasting unto the coming day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Right? So that's the kind of spirit that we've got to be on, which is the same spirit that the what do you call it, the apostles were on, man. They wanted to know, wait, how much longer? Right? Verse 4 says, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. It says, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right? And this is what's been happening over there in Syria, right? You had what do you call it? Trump basically talking about how he was going to strike. You know, you had the what you call the Western allegiance, or call it that. NATO basically was saying they're going to strike Syria, and Russia. That, you know, the ambassador to Lebanon, I believe it was, basically responding saying, look, man, we'll not only shoot those missiles out of the sky, right, but we'll shoot all the sources. Right, which is why if you know you're watching the news, hearing what they're saying, right, you know they're talking mainly about cruise missiles, man, right? Because you gotta understand, ultimately, both sides know that this is gonna be a bloody war, right? Which is why America hasn't gone outright and just taken over the land. I mean, that's what they did in Libya, that's what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan. They just outright went over there. Why? Because those countries weren't able to defend themselves, right? Whereas you have what do you call it? You have you have Syria now, where you know they're both aware of each other's power and influence, power and force, which is why they've not just straight gone out and just, you know, America hasn't just done what it's done before and just taken over the land. Why? That's why they've not gone to loggerheads yet, right? Yeah. So it's like I say, it's a rumor of war, but we hope in these things. We hope that these rumors become facts of war. All of a sudden now you have people talking about, you know, war this, war that. My newspaper yesterday, what do you call it? It was it yesterday? Yeah, Wednesday 11th. Yeah, it was Russia's chilling warning to West over Syria strike. Right? It says, and then the what you call it, the subheading is Moscow envoy says Western attack will be repelled and ships and planes downed. Right now is the front page of the Metro, which is one of the no, this was the Evening Standard, which is one of the newspapers you get when you're what do you call it? That's given freely, and you usually find them at like train stations, tube stations, etc. Right? Yeah, but hey, this is the time we're in, right? Let me carry on. To see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. As I said, it's a rumor of one. We hope that it leads to the real thing, right? I'm gonna end with 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, right? And this is how we measure it. We read Mark 13:33, right? Watch and pray. That's how you measure the time, right? You see what's happening, you watch, and you filter through the prophecy. You're like, oh shit. So now we're watching. Last year was a lot about the chip, right? At the back end of last year, you had a load of weird. End of last year, beginning of this, you had a load of weird shit with, you know, all of this sex robot shit, this, that, and the other, right? Really, the coming of AI and robotics, right? And then what you call it? And now we're in what, March, April, right? You've just been hearing of war, right? You know, just straight threats being what you call it, being leveled at each other. Yesterday, Trump came on and said something to the effect of, "Hey man, hey, we go and send them missiles." But why it's a rumor of war? Because today he then came out and says, "Well, you know, we might strike soon, or we might not strike soon." Just proof. But the thing is, you watch these things, right? And these things are what you call. These things are making people, as I said at the top of the video, right? Be making people in the world go like, "Oh shit, hey, these things, man, these things are coming to pass, right?" But let me carry on. It says, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then shall understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, right? So yeah, hey, Lord's will you were edified, and Lord's will this be the year wherein we are delivered from our captivity. Lord's will, right? Because we can't be here anymore, man. We can't be here anymore. Right? Your children being taught by homosexuals and, and transgenders, hey man. But yeah, Lord's will you edify until the next time I say shalom.